We'll call meeting number 498. Can someone confirm that we have a quorum?
Yep.
Okay. Tuesday, August 25th. Item 1. Roll call is done. Minutes of the previous meeting. Have you all had an opportunity to review them?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve made, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
Aye.
Nays? Carried. Item 2, fiscal actions report and expenditures. We all had a chance to review that. Any comments on it?
Move to
Ken,
approve.
I have a comment. What does the redetermination fee for boats and docks mean if there were two negative numbers there?
Dave?
Roger, are you still on?
I am, Dave. I don't have a copy of that report in front of me. The term redetermination is familiar. Typically, when staff and/or property owner requests a review of their fees, we do a fee redetermination. I'm not sure what the negative number would be. I can certainly check into that and get back to Kathy.
Thanks, Raj. Thank you very much.
All right. Motion to accept the fiscal actions report.
It's just
Made, second. All in favor? Any nays? Passed and carried. Project review actions report. Joe, do you have is this where we read the resolution?
Yes. Resolution 2020-31, acceptance of the project review actions report. Whereas the commission has received and reviewed the project review actions report prepared by staff dated August 17, 2020, and the project review committee recommends acceptance of the project review actions report. Now therefore be resolved that the commission directs that the project review actions report be incorporated in the minutes of the full commission meeting. So moved.
Motion made, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Motion carried. Now, as we move into our projects, I'll just advise you that the Water Horse Adventures application has been withdrawn. Just for those of you who might be interested, the village determined that the allowance, the temporary allowance to have them pick up passengers at the village docks was done in error, and they revoked that permission. So we don't have to deal with it today.
Good work,
Joe Tulin, can you lead us through?
I certainly can. Thank you, Ken. The first application on the agenda is Adirondack Boat Tours, being represented by Eric McIntosh. This is an existing tour boat operation with one vessel. They berth at the Sagamore docks and do passenger pickup and discharge at the Flamingo. They have applied to add a second vessel to their operation and continue to berth at the Sagamore docks and pick up at the Flamingo. The Flamingo, should be noted, is a Class A marina authorized for 5 tour boats. This represents the 5th tour boat. So this is already an authorized activity at the facility, so it's not a review of the facility, but simply the tour boat operation. And I believe scrolling through Zoom here, I saw the McIntosh family, so I'd invite them to introduce themselves and talk a little bit more about the project.
Okay, somebody there?
Yeah.
Hi,
Can you
I'm
hear?
Carol McIntosh. And
I'm Eric McIntosh. So yeah, we have our one boat already running this season. And as you know, the lake has been crazy. So we've been running like crazy around. And this year we're hoping to add our second boat to the fleet and just take that 5th spot that's already permitted for the Flamingo and add our second boat.
Okay. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak on the application? Hearing none. Commissioners, anybody have any discussion? Questions, answers? None?
No, it seems pretty
Joe?
straightforward. Resolution
Okay.
2020-32. Application number TB 20 00003 tour boat. Applicant is McIntosh DBA 80K Boat Tours. Whereas the applicant has applied for permit to add a second tour boat to an existing tour boat operation, and the Lake George Park Commission has reviewed the application, supporting documents, comments received, and other information which appears in the record, and the commission has made a determination that the project is an unlisted action pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, 6 NY CRR 617.5, and as lead agents for the purposes of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, has made a determination that the project will have no significant impact on the environment, and whereas the action is considered to be a major project pursuant to 6 NY CRR 645-5.3, public notice has been published and distributed as required, and whereas the applicant has demonstrated that the activity will comply with the tour boat requirements of 646-1.4D and number 2, and the commission finds that the project will have no adverse impact on the health, safety, or welfare of the public, the environment, or the resources of the park, will not alter the essential character of the area which is proposed, will not alter the congestion in the park, will not lead to the congestion in the park, and will not have an undue visual, cultural, audible impact on the neighborhood or the park. Now therefore be resolved, the Lake George Park Commission hereby resolves to approve the above application as proposed. So moved.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show by a sign. Any nays or abstentions? No, hearing no nays or abstentions, the motion is carried. Thank you very much. Good luck to you folks, the McIntoshes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is another tour boat modification, marine modification submitted by Tom Wessling at the Blue Lagoon Resort, Town of Diamond. It's not the Town of Diamond Point, it would be the Hamlet of Diamond Point, Town of Bolton. But anyways, you have an approach on that, Joe?
Yes.
I do thank you. As you noted, this is an application to add a second tour boat, similar to the previous application. However, this also involves a marina modification for this facility. The applicant has up to 20 seasonal berthing spaces and seeks to replace one of those berthing spaces with a tour boat. I can see Mr. Wessling is in the audience, and I'd invite him to introduce himself and speak a little bit more about his project.
Hi, I'm Tom Wessling from Blue Lagoon Resort in Tourboat Lake George. Last fall, I got approved for a single boat for tours, and the business has been really busy, and we decided to add a second boat to that operation. We have plenty of docking. I showed in the information last year and was resubmitted this year. We have adequate parking, room for a new septic system that's adequate for guests to use before, after the tour. And we're just looking to add a second boat so we could run two at once, and it's been going well. We give our visitors to Lake George a safe experience, bring them to lower impact areas, and we think it's been going really well. And people have been responding well to it, so we'd like to expand and add a second boat with your permission.
Okay, anybody else in the audience to speak for or about this project? Hearing none, any commissioners have any questions of the applicant or any comments?
Yeah, is this a additional boat at this place, or is this just a change of use?
An additional boat. So we started with one boat and went through this season with one boat, and then since it was doing well, we decided to add a second boat. We do have 20 berthing spots there, so it would replace an existing spot when it added dock space, but would change how the dock space is used from guest or seasonal docking to tour boat parking.
Joe, too, and the commission staff has no issues with that?
Correct. Yeah, if he was obviously searching to expand docks or expand, the number of boats on the docks, that would certainly increase the review. But here, by replacing an existing seasonal berthing space, it takes care of the parking and some of the wastewater load. But as Mr. Wessling noted, there's certainly ample space for parking, and he has a new wastewater system with excess capacity for this use.
Okay. Hearing no other comments, entertain a motion.
Resolution 2020-34. Application number M20-000003. Applicant is Tom Wesleyan, DBA Blue Lagoon Resort. Whereas the applicant has applied for a permit to modify Class A Marina tour boat operation to add a second tour boat, and the Lake George Park Commission has reviewed the application, supporting documents, comments received, and other information which appears in the record. And whereas the commission has made a determination that the project is an unlisted action pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act 6 NY CRR 617.5, and as lead agency for the purposes of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, has made a determination that the project will have no significant impact on the environment. And whereas the action is considered to be a major project pursuant to 6 NY CRR 645-5.3, public notice has been published and distributed as required. And whereas the applicant has demonstrated that the activity and facility comply with the Class A Marina requirements of 6 NY CRR 646-1.2B and tour boat requirements at 646-1.4D and number 2. And whereas the commission finds the project will have no adverse impact on the health, safety, or welfare of the public, the environment, or the resources of the park, will not alter the essential characters of the area in which it is proposed, will not lead to congestion in the park, and will not have an undue visual, cultural, audible impact on the neighborhood or the park. Now therefore be resolved, the Lake George Park Commission hereby resolves to approve the above application as proposed. So moved.
Motion's made, motion seconded by a few people. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, signify with a hand in the air and a wave, waving back at you. Any nays, any abstentions? Seeing none, motion's carried. Thank you very much. Mr. Wesseling, you're good to go.
Very much.
You're welcome. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Our next applicant is a variance request for wharf modification submitted by Sandra Smith Sahowski in the town of Hague. And I believe I saw her in our audience. Or Joe, why don't you go forward with the process first, please?
Yeah, thank you. Let me just give you a brief overview. So the existing dock at this parcel is 74 feet long, and in violation of commission regulations, there's an order on consent to remove it. Last August, we received an application to maintain that dock, and that was denied. Earlier this year, in April, you recall this, Smith Sahowski came before us with a dock modification. That was tabled, seeking additional water depth measurements and some alternatives, dock alternatives. They have provided those water depths, hired Dickinson surveyors, and provided some alternatives for the commission to review. The three alternatives, briefly summarized, are a 70-foot long, 19-foot wide L-shaped dock, a 64-foot long, 26-foot wide L-shaped dock, and a 64-foot long, 32-foot wide L-shaped dock for your consideration. As you note, the Smith Sahowski family is in attendance, so I'd invite them to introduce themselves again and discuss their project.
Hello, I'm Sandy Smith Sahowski.
And I'm Robert Sahowski.
Hello.
Okay, we got you, and why don't you
okay.
go
I'm
ahead?
sorry. Last time we couldn't get the picture, so we don't know if we're working it right. Sorry.
You're loud and clear and well seen.
Okay.
You go
And
right
I believe
ahead.
my daughter is also, Rachel is here too.
Oh, okay. I see Rachel down below. Who's going to be the spokesman this morning?
I guess I'll be the spokesman.
Okay.
We have 3 plans that we submitted. You asked us to give you information on our boat hoist, which we sent to you from the company owner. We also got all the water depths that you required of us. And we had submitted just plan A. Now we have plan B and C. So we've submitted 3 different plans for you to look at and hopefully get your approval to one of these plans.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else to speak on this project? For or again? All right, thank you. Joe Tillman, do we have a preferability over Plan A, B, or C?
Looking at the different plans, I think some of the concern was, will this be a practical solution for the Smith-Sahowskis? Will they be able to berth their boat the way they want to with their max depth drive down at 2.75 feet? Looking at the drawings, it appears that can be accommodated. With each of these proposals, the one, strictly speaking, that would represent the least variance requested is the 64-foot long, 26-foot wide dock with the 8-foot wide pier. So strictly from a regulatory standpoint, that would represent the least variance necessary of the options presented.
Right, but I visited this site earlier in the year. They've got some shallow water issues there, don't they? I mean, will this give them safe harbor for their boat, which is their desire, I'm sure?
Sure. So looking at the the water depths along the straight portion, the long portion of the L, those seem to be mimicked. Ranging from 2.5 to 2.9 to 3 feet in the L shape. I did a little research trying to find out what the minimum draft was. If they trim up, I couldn't find any information on that, unfortunately. I assume it's going to be less than that max draft, 2.75, which would most likely be at the stern. So it seems, based on their experience, berthing there, and based on the numbers, they think that 64 feet is practical and will meet their needs. In a previous meeting, they noted they like to berth on the inside of the L in inclement weather to protect the boat from winds and wave. As I noted, the depths there, you're seeing 2.5, 2.9. It's the same depths they have on that outside southeastern side of the pier. So if that existing pier is working for them at 64 feet, then the proposed 64-foot long, 26-foot wide should work for them as well. And I think that was part of the commission's hesitation, not wanting to issue a variance that might not be a practical solution for the landowner.
Okay. So any proposal that we would be discussing and voting on would be for the 64 length straight pier. Is that correct?
Well, so it's what they've actually posed as their primary choice is the 64-foot long, 32-foot wide L shape. But to provide some alternatives, which was part of the discussion last time as well, they also have the 64 by 26 and the 70 by roughly 19-foot wide. So they have three options that would be amenable to them, their primary being 64 by 32.
We've got to boil the three down to one when it comes to vote. How about some comments from the commissioners, especially those that have been there? Bill?
May I ask a question? On the one that is Plan C, also is, although it is a little bit longer, we would not have to do anything other than remove 44 inches off the front of the existing dock and move it to the back, and no piers will be moved, no cribs, no nothing. It would just be the removal of the front of the dock and put it to the back, which was suggested by one of the members of the board at the last meeting. And that's what we also had Mr. Dickinson do the water depths for as well.
Right. So that would be the 70-foot long, 19-foot wide pier, or L shape that she's referring to.
Yes.
So is that her preferred?
We would like that one just for the fact that because we are older and we are doing the work all ourselves, we would just have to remove 44 inches off the front of the dock and put it to the back. And therefore, we won't disturb any of the cribs or any of we have quite a bit of wildlife up there and fish and everything in the cribs. And therefore, we would not have to move any of the cribs. It would just be taking off the front 44 inches and moving it to the back.
And that would be the least economic impact also, correct?
Also, yes.
Okay. Commissioners?
Well, it's a choice between the least variance versus the least cost or least effort by the applicant. Because the least variance would be the 64 by 26 L-shaped. And what the applicant is suggesting is that she prefer the 70-foot by 19 L-shaped to minimize her efforts.
Is
Yes,
that Carrie
that's-
per? Go ahead, miss.
Yes, that's true, because therefore we can leave the existing cribs that are in there and not disturb anything at all. It would just be the sake of moving off the 44 inches from the front, you know, heading north, to moving them to the back.
All right, why don't we poll the commissioners, and then we'll have to take any additional comments from the applicant and then vote.
Can I ask a
Bill?
question?
Sure.
I'm wondering, how long is your boat?
24 foot.
Okay.
24 foot.
And
Probably got
with Plan C, I can, well, it's 23. With Plan C, we can pull the boat in alongside, parallel with the dock. But with the plan that it is 64 foot, we would have to pull in the dock parallel to it, to the front.
Did I miss something there?
Sorry. Was somebody trying to make a comment?
I wasn't sure what Sandy was trying to say about where the boat was going to be tied.
Oh, all right. So in the plan that the dock is only 19 foot or 18 and a half foot in length. And I don't know, can I do it this way? My
You
life?
can try.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not good at that. And I was a teacher.
It's Plan C.
It's Plan C. We would pull the boat in this way, the long section of the dock. Okay?
Right.
This way it would, and the front of the boat faces out to the north for the waves. In this plan, which is the other one that we were talking about, we have to pull in the boat this way to the front. So rather than go the long length of the dock, it has to go this way.
I assume this way means it's parallel to the L.
Yes, I'm sorry. And the other way, it's parallel to the, I guess you would call it the length of the dock going out to the lake.
Right.
But the water depth is along the finger is acceptable for the boat draft from the drawing water depth.
Right, because it's basically, it's only going to make a difference of like an inch and a half with the depth thing that Mr. Dickinson did. So therefore, in Plan C, it's only an inch and a half, but in the other one, it's more, so I have to pull it parallel with the L rather than parallel to the leg going out to the L.
Don't you have a lift?
Yes, I do have a lift.
Ah, that puts a whole new light on things.
I thought the lift would fit there and then you'd be able to lift the boat up out of there along the finger.
There's no way we can get that lift around. We take it in, my husband and I take it out each year, and we can barely pull it out going one way rather than go out about, you know, going all the way around the L. There's no way we'd be able to do that.
Any other comments?
So if you can't use the lift on the L, then the lift would have to be parallel to the long axis of the dock, which means we probably could make that dock a little shorter.
Well, where the lift is now is where, that's the side it's always been on. The problem is the lift needs to be operated safely in the letter that was sent to you. It requires like 30 to 36 inches. So it does make a difference on a lift, that little bit of an inch does make a difference of being able to get it onto the lift. So that's why I gotta be sort of play it safe and have it either way.
Okay. Kath? You gotta
Yeah,
unmute yourself, Kathy. Unmute.
I didn't say a thing.
There you go.
Okay, I have a
thank you.
question. I have a question about the cribbing. You said in Plan C, you wouldn't have to remove, or you wouldn't have to remove any cribbing,
Correct.
but the cribbing is pretty much the same, so it would only be the last cribbing that you would have to remove if you went with Plan 2?
If I did Plan 2, I have to remove the cribbing from the L and also the cribbing that's at the end, that's on the piece that goes out to the lake. And then I have to change basically almost all of them to meet the requirements for the distance between the cribs. Get that crib at the end.
Water level be
So,
less.
so basically what you're saying is there's about 4 feet of the current finger that goes into the lake, the 74 foot, that has no cribbing underneath it, and you can
Exactly.
essentially take it out and leave the
44.
crib where it is.
Yeah, and leave the crib and put the 44 inches at the other part.
Kathy?
I'm thinking about all the deliberation and discussion that we had last month regarding this application. When we were given the 3 different plans, I thought that this is great. The applicant is going to be fine with either of these plans. As far as what Joe said about deviating from the regulations and the variance, the second plan is the most acceptable. But now I feel that we're back to square one from last month again, because the applicant is making a case to go with plan number C, which is the 70 foot long and the 19 foot wide. And I feel that the other two, we probably never should have even had the 3 plans in front of us.
Well,
So,
actually, Plan C is the one that someone on the board suggested, and that's why we put that in there, because we were told at the last meeting it's less intrusive, and that's where that plan came from.
well,
I
it's
mean,
less intrusive because it's 4 feet, only 4 feet less, but
Right.
it's actually a 1/4 of an inch wider than what you already have existing. So to me, it's not much different from what you already have there and what you've been out of compliance for all these years.
Well, we're happy with Plan B. It's just, I'm just telling you the truth. When you ask me, it is less intrusive. It is less expensive. It's something that my husband and I can do. I don't know how long this situation that we have with the pandemic is going to go on. If it's something that only my husband and I can do, then that is something only my husband and I can do. I don't know. I'm happy with Plan B. I'm happy with Plan C. Plan C was offered to us through you at the meeting last time, and that's why I put it in there. And then when we looked at it, we said, this may be what we really need, because if only the 2 of us can do it, it's something the 2 of us can do by ourselves, because we don't have to move rock and we don't have to move the crib. But if you are happier with the Plan B, we're more than happy to do that, because we'll start working on it as soon as we can. It'll just take us longer to do it, but we'll have it done by your end of the July date.
And Sandra, just to clarify the pandemic, you feel that it would not be safe for you to have an outsider come in and work on your dock? Is that where you're going?
To be honest with you, we don't have the money to pay dock doctors $64,000 to come. There is a copy of how much they would charge us to do that. We don't have $64,000.
Oh.
When we came the first time, we were told that this was not a financial burden to us. $64,000 to people in their 70s, that's a burden.
It's
I'm
a lot
sorry,
of money.
that's a big financial burden.
No, you don't have to
So-
apologize. That's a lot of money.
I was very upset about that. So if one or the other were okay, it's just the one is less expensive, and it is something my husband and I can handle.
Okay, thank you.
So that would be C, right?
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments? Joe Tuen.
Chairman, if I could just interject briefly with respect, if you guys are thinking about the 70-foot long option, it is listed as being 9.7 feet wide, which exceeds our maximum width standards of 8 feet. So just as another possibility, if you go with the 70-foot wide, 19-foot wide, or 70-foot long, 19-foot wide option, it might be worthwhile to bring that pier width down to 8 feet, not add the entirety of that 4 feet inside the slip, which again would exceed the regulatory maximum and also sort of exacerbate our shallow water issue. If we're looking for deeper water, covering it up with an additional 2 feet of boards might be counterproductive.
I think you hit it on the nail, hit the head on the nail on the head, Joe. Yeah.
So let's ask the applicant, is what the new proposal is that you'd have a 70-foot dock with the L-shaped, instead of being 9.7 feet, it would only be 8 feet, but it would be 19 feet long.
That would be fine.
Okay. So that's the new proposal. That's option A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
That's a modified C, I think,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
which is perfectly fine with me. I think an 8-foot
Yeah.
wide dock is certainly plenty of space to walk and load and unload and whatever.
Does that present any problems from us of modifying an application during the discussion?
Sounds
No.
good.
Everybody's comfortable with it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
Good.
Joe, you wanna
Thanks.
read a resolution, Joe?
Yep. Resolution 2020-35, application numbers 5226-7-20DM. Applicant is Sandra Smith Sharowski. Whereas the applicant has applied for a permit for a 64 long, 32-foot wide L-shaped dock, and the Lake George Park Commission has reviewed the application, supporting documents, comments received, and other information which appears in the record. The commission has made a determination pursuant to 6 NY CRR 645-3.6, the State Environmental Quality Review Act of 6 NY CRR 617.5, that the project is a type 2 action and pursuant not require further review of potential environmental impacts pursuant to this act, and the action is considered to be a minor project pursuant to 6 NY CRR 645-5.3. Public notice has been published and distributed, and the applicant has requested a variance from the 6 NY CRR 646-1.1C. Docks may not extend more than 40 feet from the main mean low water mark. Whereas the applicant has demonstrated that the strict conformance with the regulation will cause unnecessary hardship due to unique and peculiar circumstance, which impose substantial financial, technical, and safety burdens. And whereas the commission finds that there is no reasonable possibility that the applicant's property, or if no property is involved, the continuation of the applicant's business enterprise, use, or activity will bring a reasonable return following conformance with the regulations. And whereas the commission finds the project will not have an adverse impact on the wealth, health, safety, or welfare of the public, the environment, or the resources of the park, will not alter the essential characters of the area in which it is proposed, will not lead to congestion in the park, and will not have an undue visual, cultural, audible impact on the neighborhood or the park. Now therefore resolved, the Lake George Park Commission hereby approves the request for variance and approves the above application with the following conditions. The dock shall be no longer than 50 feet or 70 feet, and the finger will be 19 feet with an 8-foot wide. So moved.
Second,
Motion made, seconded by Bill.
I wasn't Bill.
Excuse me?
Yes, well, we all see different things. Motion made and seconded. All in favor, signify with a raise of the hand, please. Any nays, any abstentions? Hearing none, it's passed. Good luck to you, Ms. Sahowski, and enjoy your dock adjustments.
Okay, thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you. All right, moving on. This is a variance request for wharf modification submitted by Rosemary Pusateri, Town of Queensbury. As we all know, Rosemary is here regularly in her other role as a good advisor and observer. And so, Joe, can you give us some information on this?
Happily, thank you. So this is an existing wharf of record. It has a boathouse located inside the 20-foot sideline setback. The Pusateri family is looking to rebuild the sun deck at a higher elevation. They're having issues, just general ingress and egress and berthing of boats inside. They're looking to increase the height from roughly 11.5 feet to 13 feet 10 inches. No increase in the footprint, but as it's increasing in height within the setback, it's exacerbating the existing non-compliance, so it requires a variance from this board to be approved. Before we move on, I just want to quickly point out an error in my project description. I note the sun deck as being 16 foot wide by 13 foot long. It's 31 foot long. That was a typo. I apologize for that. And with that, I will turn it over to the person who knows more about this dock than anybody, and that is the Pusateri family.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe. I'm Frank Pusateri. This is my wife, Rosemary. For you know, me and Hyde. We were unfortunate. If you check your records, we were rebuilding the crib docks, which had shifted a foot in the ice storm and basically closed egress. And it was almost done, and the windstorm in March took the roof off the dock and dumped it in the lake. It tore posts out of the dock deck, and it cracked posts in half. We did have the debris removed, and then we started filing we finished the crib dock and we filed to a new roof. Now the roof is exactly the same as the old roof, and the difference is only height. And this is an enormous safety problem that we probably should have corrected years ago. The height of the bottom of the eave to the dock deck is less than 6 feet. I can live with that. I've been docking for years. The bigger problem is the egress from lake to the high water mark with the eaves is a little over 5 feet. And when there are waves on the lake, this egress gets even lower. And there are high waves on the lake where we have to dismantle our bimini to get the boat into the dock. And I don't like dismantling a bimini in open water. We don't try to be out then. And if you looked at the Chronicle recently, and it's nice to see they said something that helped us, there are people on this Trump boat thing say that the waves down here were 6 feet. And the other side said, no, they were only 3 to 4. Well, if I have an egress that's less than 5, I have a safety problem. We have letters from the neighbors. None of them object. It doesn't change the amount of the dock side or the dock height. Well, the dock, what they see. The letters are on file. You should have a picture of the dock in the lake that shows you we didn't do it on purpose. The dock had been reinforced 5 years ago. We rebuilt the infrastructure below it. The insurance company sent a construction engineer, and he took one look and they wrote us a check. The cost of moving the dock is huge. It is a crib dock. This would require an enormous amount of stone to be either moved or replaced. It would, we have a treed slope that goes down 11 feet. It would require I destabilize the slope. And I have a mooring in front of the only place you'd build a new dock. That is a legal mooring. To us, this is a safety issue we should have handled years ago, and now we can just take care of it at a minimum cost to us. I just don't feel safe with the higher waves and the higher boat traffic making waves on lake these days with that access. Questions?
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience to speak on this project? Justin, I'll rely on you if anybody's waving their arms. Hearing none. And hear from the commissioners, comments, questions? Bill Mason first, I saw.
Yeah, this is kind of in my neighborhood. I know the Pusateri pretty well. I felt pretty bad about them this spring. It seemed like they were singled out by the ice, and I know what that feels like when you get creamed like that. But that's a side issue. I drive by this. The elevation is such that this small height adjustment, the issues I always have with height are, will it impact the neighbor's view or anybody's view shed? And with the way that the slope is behind the dock, this will have, I think, zero impact to anybody, and it really does help them out. So I consider it to be such a minimal amount of relief that I'd be in favor of it.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, commissioners? Hearing none. Joe, do we have a resolution?
Okay, listen up. We're going to try a new format for the resolution. You all have the resolution 2020-36 in front of you. Application number DWM 20-4031. Applicant is Pusateri, Rosemary, and Frank. So without further ado, you all read the application. I now therefore be resolved that the Lake George Park Commission hereby approves the request for a variance, approves the above application as proposed. So moved.
Second.
Motion made,
Second.
motion seconded. All in favor with a raise a hand. Any nays or abstentions? Hearing none, it's carried.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here.
Okay.
Moving on, flipping the page. Item Lake Stewardship Group of Cloverdale, anchoring suggestion for Sandy Bay, Tricia Fear and Kim Gary. Dave, do we have any background on that we should have?
I think they can kind of introduce the topics that they're looking to discuss, and we can kind of go forward from there.
Good morning. Kim and I, on behalf of the Lake Stewardship Group, would like to thank you for this opportunity to speak to you as part of the agenda. We are here to present a pilot program of enhanced buoy signage in Sandy Bay that will complement and build upon the successful initiative of boat inspections that the Park Commission spearheaded. As Mark Twain said, to stand still is to fall behind. We need to be aggressive in moving forward. Continual awareness and education for all of us to do our part to protect and prevent the transportation of invasive species is vital. It is our understanding that areas that have AIS on the lake are not marked. Homes of our Lake Stewardship Group surround Water Bay, Harris Bay, and Sandy Bay. All of these, and Sandy Bay has been identified with some type of AIS. Our focus today is Sandy Bay. As one enters the bay, you see the buoys for no anchoring, 5 miles an hour, and no wake. Boaters proceed to a mooring. They attach to a mooring or not and spend the day in Sandy Bay. This last photo is taken from a member's home and is a common site on Sandy Bay and a number of bays on Lake George. Log Bay, Basin Bay come to mind, which also have been identified with invasive species. It might seem impossible to change the behavior of those that are enjoying a day on the lake, but we could make them more mindful that they have a lawful responsibility, just as with the boat inspections, to assist in protecting the lake. To assist in this pilot program, we would like your support of better signage in Sandy Bay at the entrance of this bay. Those buoys should be able to be read by any size vessel. Clear signage, no wake, no anchoring. Others buoys in the stretch of water between these entrance buoys and the moorings with no anchoring would send a clear message to boaters. Additionally, having a mooring attached to every cement block that is in the bay and rearrange those blocks in a similar manner to the original 1989 plan. Identify each mooring with a number. Finally, add a buoy or two in the shallow section of the bay stating no anchoring, no rafting, no floating, invasive species equals no anchoring. The Lake Park Commission patrol boats should not have to be called continuously to Sandy Bay. These simple suggestions we just described should make a difference in boaters' behavior and the need for enforcement by making the rules clear. An additional suggestion, boaters should register for a mooring to ensure that only the designated moorings are being used. Knowing ahead of time that you must register for a mooring may take some time to get used to, but this is for the preservation and protection of our lake. There are those who never thought that mandatory boat inspection would succeed. It took some time for boat owners to get used to stopping for this inspection, but they do, and the program is a success. Now it's time to be bold again and protect the areas within this lake that are being taken advantage of, because many of those who use these areas don't realize what is at stake. If the lack of maintenance for Sandy Bay moorings is due to budget constraints, charging a special user fee for a mooring as they registered should be considered. This special user fee, according to the North and South Basin Fishing Boating Map, quote, are a means for those who enjoy and use the lake to provide for its long-term preservation and the protection of its open space character. Or to quote section 645.7, collect regulatory fees to fund the cost of regulation management and the conservation activities which assure the protection and the continued beneficial use of the resources of this park. The pamphlet is very informative and also could be updated with AIS sites. We would hate for this to become the buoy of choice for Sandy Bay. No anchoring lake-wide and infested areas would be the norm if we want to stop the spread of invasives while enjoying the lake. Our lake, ours to preserve. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Well, if I can get back to my, thank you very much. That's about the most impressive comments
Excellent.
by the audience that I've witnessed in my career on the Park Commission. I will hope my comments, and somebody else could kick in when they want to. This exact subject was discussed this morning at great length during our 9 o'clock Law Enforcement Committee meeting, which precedes our regular meeting. And during that meeting, we discussed essentially the same things that you really illustrated so well. And all the subjects, the Park Commission in total is in complete agreement with your issues and with your concerns, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What we concluded at the end of this rather lengthy discussion was that our commission staff is going to communicate with all, ALL, of the property owners bordering Sandy Bay. The Park Commission has already established a review of realigning the anchor, the buoy anchors to their original spots as per that chart that you showed very well. The Park Commission is instituting the process of replacing the missing mooring buoys, which is, by the way, a pretty substantial expense. We know that once in a while they break loose. We know that once in a while they're stolen. But we know that once in a while people break them by dragging the anchors to get their boats closer together, et cetera, et cetera. So I hope that you folks will continue spearheading that and let us assist you and solving this problem and going forward. Any commissioners have anything additional to add to that I might have missed? Hearing none, thank you very much. We appreciate it. We're going to be in touch with you, and this is a problem that we're going to address and get taken care of.
Great, thank you
Come
so
to
much.
agreement. You're welcome. Appreciate your attendance and your report and your information. It was good for this way we have to meet nowadays. Having said that, I guess the next is the Law Enforcement Committee report, which I kind of almost just gave. The Law Enforcement Committee did meet this morning, and we discussed some items such as some equipment items, which included engine swaps and upgrading a boat, talking about the Marine Patrol, which will be slightly reduced after Labor Day, but we assure the public that our Marine Patrol will be out there in as much maximum force as is necessary. We talked about some local happenings on the lake, which one of our items was the Sandy Bay issues. And then we went into executive session and discussed a session about the Pellerin case up in the Ticonderoga area. And I do have, if I can turn my phone and read it, a resolution 2020-37, which whereas the Law Enforcement Committee met via teleconference August 25th, 2020, to review matters pertaining to the Lake George Park Commission's Marine Patrol and the Commission's law enforcement program, and whereas active law enforcement cases, their status were reviewed in executive session, whereas the Law Enforcement Committee has reported on the results of that committee meeting at this full commission meeting, and whereas the Law Enforcement Committee recommends acceptance of this month's law enforcement report, now therefore be it resolved that the commission accepts the report of the Law Enforcement Committee, and I look for a motion and a second on that. Have a motion? We have a second? Any discussion? All in favor of accepting it?
Aye.
Signify with the, and all, any nays, any abstentions? And that is carried. Now we go to public comment, and Justin, I'm going to ask for your assistance on that to open the mics and call on the people as you see fit.
All right. Anyone from the public wish to speak? Steve, go ahead.
First of all, I'd like to thank Joe Johns and all the patrol work that they've been doing up in our area up here. They've done a fine job, and every time that there's an issue, you know, they attend to it right away, and we really appreciate that. I'd just like to mention something that one day I was out, and Joe and I tied up together out there, and I still think that the flags on these kayaks are a great thing, but the majority of the people aren't renting them, as you guys know, and you know, you get a little choppy, you really can't see them. As Joe and I sat there together, tied up, and we looked at some boats, and you couldn't see them. And this morning I got up early and took Jamie and Alex down to Paradise Bay to look at some HWA, and we passed a bunch of kayakers out there. And again, it was a little chop today, as you guys know. And what I just like to see is another safety issue is just have orange stripes put on those paddles. As we observed that day, Joe, you can see people farther out in the lake when their paddles were reflective than non-reflective. And again, it's an issue. We just don't want to see anybody hurt again. And it's something I would like to see the Park Commission just reconsider, just you know, having orange tape or orange paddles again, reflective. So it's a safety issue, and it's something that that you may want to take forward again, because again, we appreciate the work with the flags, but again, flags are only on rental units. So I don't want to see anybody hurt, and I'm sure you guys don't either. So that's my statement.
Good statement, because I've been out with my family a few times and we've experienced the same thing. Some people that were not very experienced boaters acknowledge how difficult it is to see the bulk of the kayaks, because most of them are privately owned and don't fall under our new ruling. And I think the paddle identification is one of the best.
I agree. I agree. When you see a person out there paddling, you know, and it's reflective orange, or they do have tape on it, you can see them from a great distance. And again, Joe, we saw that day we were out tied up together that, you know, some have it, and the ones who have it, you can see, and the ones that don't have it on the chop, you just can't even see them. And again, guys with the boats are going a lot faster than kayakers, and if they're not paying complete attention, which we hope they would, there's a potential problem, as you just recognized, Ken.
I wonder if there's somewhere where we could get a private benefactor, a business, et cetera, to procure those, manufacture them, and we would certainly help with the distribution somehow at the marinas, at local stores, off the Marine Patrol craft, because they'd be so simple to stick on, et cetera. So I think it's something that we should take under discussion as a commission.
The idea, you come up with somebody that's got good pockets, but again, for an individual, for a safety issue, to put reflective tape on their paddle probably can't be that high of a price.
No, and the more we get, the better off we are. Okay, thank you, Steve. We always appreciate that. Justin?
Let's see, anyone else have any comments they'd like to make? Doesn't appear so. Oh, there's Kathy.
Kathy?
Hold on.
You need to unmute yourself, Kath.
Yep, I'm working on it. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Thank you.
I thought that PowerPoint was really excellent, and I hope that we could put it on file at the Park Commission, or so I could even have easy access to it. It was really well done. Thank you, Tricia and Kim.
Okay, thanks, Kath. Mr. Wick, any managerial comments?
No, I think we accomplished everything we wanted to today, so appreciate everybody being on. Looks like Mr. Stanek has some comments.
I do. I see his finger.
I was just wondering, Steve's got a good comment, and we've talked about this in the past about putting some sort of reflector tape on the kayak paddles. It seems to me as though we ought to have somebody go off and take a look at what it would cost to produce something of about a 6x8 or something of that size. Maybe that would be attached or stuck on the paddles of the kayaks or canoes.
You're right. It'd be like a 4 or 5 inch silver disc, or
something
lime
like
green disc.
Because it's a good idea, and we just kind of spin our wheels here until somebody's given charge to go off and do this and figure it out. How much would it cost, and do we get a sponsor? They could put their names on it or something if you want. We can decide that.
And maybe the Lake George Association or the fund would like to produce a whole bunch of stickers that they give away for free.
Yeah, they are commercially available. Walt and I have actually talked about that. They're not too expensive. Some of the ones that we looked at were so small as to be really non-viable.
Right.
And then there was some concern if they're too big and you're in, let's say, any bay with a lot of kayaks to go down to the village, and then you have 45 reflectors flashing at you on a sunny day, that might be obnoxious as well. So we'll start having that conversation. We'll report back to you next month.
Okay.
Good.
Thanks, Dave.
Anyone else?
I
Time
moved
is,
to-
I don't know what time it is. Noontime? 11 o'clock. We're an hour early. Joe?
I moved to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn. Bill Mason was number 2 on that. Motion's made, and with no objections, we shall adjourn until the next time. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your patience on this kind of thing. Say a little prayer for Sue. I'm sure she's out of surgery by now, and if we get a report today or tomorrow, we'll try to let everybody know.
So I just wanted to make sure that Bill Mason knew that we made an adjustment to the resolution. That he avoided to pass it, but I just wanted to make sure he wasn't sleeping.
Well, Bill's sporting his rock star haircut, so that looks pretty good on him.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Oh, let's see.